And if you can't get ratchet, you learn today.
And if you can't get ratchet,
you learn today. And if you can't get ratchet, you learn today. Hey, you gonna learn today. You gonna learn today.
What up, YouTube? So lately, it's been kind of hard to find topics to make videos on as far as boxing is concerned. And I mean, it seems like ever since, the fights that were announced, there's been some good content put out, and then it's been kind of a standstill. I haven't seen anything really happening since, not yesterday, but the Sunday before yesterday. So it's been kind of tough to really come up with anything new. I mean, really, the whole Manny Pacquiao situation is not really boxing related. It's just so happens that it's about a boxer, but it has nothing to do really with his boxing career. So it's been extremely difficult to find boxing topics to really talk about, and I really don't like beating the dead horse. So anything that I got to say about Canelo Khan, anything that I got to say about Floyd Mayweather himself, anything I got to say about Manny Pacquiao, really anything I got to say about any of those things has already been said. I'm not just gonna keep popping out videos saying the same thing in different ways. And I think y'all would appreciate if I didn't do that as well. So that being said, this is a response video to John Boxing. He actually made a video that I think is a very intriguing topic. If you don't know what video I'm talking about, I say, go ahead and check it out. It's called, I think he called it Three Kings, and it's about Cotto, Garcia, and Floyd Mayweather, and how he thinks that those are the most underappreciated boxers. And before I get started, I don't want this to be taken as a diss. I don't want it to be taken as me telling him he's wrong or anything like that. As far as John Boxing is concerned, I'm subscribed to him. I think he has actually grown a lot since he started his channel. Like, when I say grown, I'm not talking about subscribers. I'm talking about his approaches have gotten better. I don't agree with a lot of what John Boxing says, but the way that he goes about things has improved greatly. And hats off to the man for improving on his content. That's what I strive to do. I try to move forward and not backward. But anyways, that being said, let me go ahead and touch on some things. So as far as, he picked those three fighters, saying that those are the kings he called them Three Kings. And he was just saying he doesn't understand how, being undefeated is unappreciated, how having these good resumes is unappreciated, doing it the hard way is unappreciated. So as far as the Three Kings he chose, as far as Floyd Mayweather is concerned, I don't really have anything more I want to say about the dude. I'm not a Floyd Mayweather fan, but one thing I will say is that he is underappreciated to an extent. I can see where John Boxing is coming from. Some people just want to give him absolutely no accolades, absolutely no credit, and I do think that that's wrong. I mean, he is, in my opinion, the best defensive fighter of our time, of the decade. I wouldn't say our time, but like of the decade. I would say definitely, maybe decade and a half, 2 decades tops. But I wouldn't really give him any more than that. My thing is, I mean, that to me, that's not enough to call him a king. Plus, he's retired. So, in my opinion, in my list, I'm no knock against his. I wouldn't put Floyd Mayweather as a king, but I will agree that he is somewhat unappreciated. That part is true, but it's not everybody. Okay, all the people that I associate with, most of them don't like Floyd Mayweather, but they have legitimate criticisms. It's just, you know how it is out there in the YTBC, how some people are, and everybody retaliates differently. So I'm just going to leave it at that. As far as Danny Garcia is concerned, Jon Moxley made some points about, that he's undefeated, and really the only thing that people have on him is Rod Salka. I'm going to kind of debunk that a little bit. People are highly critical of him and unappreciative of him for more reasons than just Rod Salka. Okay, if Rod Salka was the only reason, I would say, you know what, people are just way too emotional. Because back in the day, all the greats fought their share of Rod Salkas, but it wasn't every fight, it was stay busy fights. So I'm not gonna knock Garcia just for fighting a Salka fight. The other reasons why people don't like Danny Garcia and don't appreciate him is, you mentioned that he has no losses. And when you mention Cotto, you mentioned that you only count 2 of the losses because Pacquiao drained him and Margarito cheated, and some people felt that he beat Canelo, or felt that it was a draw. That's fair. You're allowed to do that. Make those judgment calls. But please understand, people have made similar judgment calls on Danny Garcia, but not in his favor. Yes, he's undefeated on paper, but almost everybody I've heard talk about the Mauricio Herrera fight feels that Mauricio Herrera beat him. I'm in that group. And I'm not the only one. It's not a small percentage. There are very many who feel that he lost to Mauricio Herrera. Lamont Peterson is another one. There's some people who felt that it was a draw. There was some people who felt that it was that Peterson beat him. Sounds very similar to the Cotto Canelo fight. So in that respect, you got to realize, just like you made those judgment calls, other people can make similar judgment calls on any fighter. So that being said, those are some more reasons why people don't like Danny Garcia, and there's even more than that. There's also the fact that he's a champion, but he's a champion who won a vacant belt, beating another person who had no business getting a title shot. So, those are the reasons why, is the gift, the gift decisions, the Peterson one's a little bit debatable, but most people would agree that Mauricio Herrera beat Danny Garcia. And then one last thing, Erik Morales, I don't want to take away from him beating Erik Morales, but the fact of the matter is he was on his way out. And that's another judgment call. There's people who make judgment calls saying, well, that win doesn't really count because that fighter was on their way out. That's another judgment call. That's a call that doesn't always get made, but it's up to you, and it's up to me, and it's up to everybody else to make their own judgment calls. So, and then last but not least, Miguel Cotto. I could tell you a couple reasons why people don't appreciate him, and they're legitimate reasons. All right. One, and this is I never heard anybody else say this, but this is actually my theory. I think because Cotto couldn't cut it with the middleweight, or not middleweight, welterweight division. When I say can't cut it, I mean he could hang up there. Is just when it came to the very elite, there was no way he was going to beat Mayweather or Pacquiao. It just doesn't seem like that was going to happen. Junior middleweight, you know, there's a lot of talent there. I mean, I don't see him beating, you know, Erislandy Lara or Demetrius Andrade. So I feel that he went all the way up to middleweight because, let's face it, middleweight is not the strongest division right now. There's a couple good fighters there, and a lot of them are acting like pussies right now. So, including him. He was, and that's my opinion, you know, fighting at catch weights the whole way. He wasn't really ever at middleweight. You know what I'm saying? He was just fighting the middleweight competition and then draining that competition that was there. So that's one reason why he's unappreciated. And another reason why I feel he's unappreciated is because he would rather vacate the WBC title than to fight Golovkin. So he vacates it or gets stripped right before the Canelo fight. If he would have beat Canelo, he would have become a 2-time middleweight division champion. But then he would have most likely, and I'm not going to act like I know for sure, but I mean, from the actions we've seen, he seems like he would have gone this route as vacate the title again. So I'm not going to praise a 2-time vacated champion. That doesn't make no sense. Doesn't make sense at all. You know, if Triple G really is this basic, overrated, no special effects, then why not, and he's your mandatory, why not just beat him, easy work, and move on with your career? You know? So, I mean, these are the different, criticisms that people have of these fighters and why they're not appreciated like it sounds like they should be on paper, because there is more to the stories. It's not just, well, Danny Garcia is an undefeated champion. How did he become a champion? And is he really undefeated? It's like you said, when it comes to the Canelo-Cotto fight, some people feel it was a draw. Some people feel that Cotto beat him. Same thing with Mauricio Herrera and Danny Garcia. And like I said, I mentioned the other reasons for the other fighters. And, and then just want to touch on one other thing. And like I said, none of this is a diss toward John Boxing. This is just to give another little perspective. Oh, and one more thing before I move on to that. Me, personally, I can't pick 3 kings right now. I'm not going to pick Floyd Mayweather because he's retired. I'm not going to pick Manny Pacquiao because he's on a loss and he's on his way out. So, just give the man respect and let him retire. Really, if I had to pick 3 kings, I would say Kovalev, and that's it. He's the only one I could really, and I'm going off resume and accomplishments and how he beats his fighters. To be honest, I don't see anybody else out there right now who deserves to be called a king, and even his is shaky, but I'll give it to him because he beat Hopkins and he has 3 of the, belts, and just how he's taking these guys out. So I would have to give it to Kovalev. But like Triple G has a lot to prove. I think Keith Thurman versus Porter is going to tell us a whole lot. all the, if I had to give another spot to anybody else, it had to be Tyson Fury, simply because he was able to beat Klitschko on his 10-year reign. So that, that was, he was not the favorite going into that fight, So, but really, I think there's a whole lot more that has to be proven. If Ward were to beat Kovalev, oh yeah, he's definitely a king at that point. He would be one of my 3 kings. If, right now, I'm reserving any further judgment on Ward because he's just been inactive. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. We honestly don't know where Ward is at this point in time. But if he were to beat Barrera and then go beat Kovalev, oh yeah, I'm going to have to definitely make, say, hey, he's one of the kings. I may not know who the other 2 are, and, who I would consider to be the kings, but because all that pay-per-view buys and all, I don't care about any of that. Fact of the matter is, I bought the pay-per-view. I'm watching it. If other people chose to spend their money on it, is none of my business. I don't really care, But yeah, I mean, that's my thought on the 3 kings of boxing at this point in time. As far as the racism is caused by the boxers, that was a separate video. I don't really think that it's the boxers themselves. But I do agree with a lot of things you said in that video. One thing I will say though is, you're saying that it's because the Floyd fans get attacked, which is true, they do. But fans of every fighter get attacked, to be honest. It would be naive to think that every single Floyd fan is a rational fan. I've always said this, there's nothing wrong with being a fan, but every fighter has their fanboys that will, fight you teeth and nail over your own opinion, your own criticisms of their favorite fighter. And that's just the way it is. I'm a Triple G fan, but I don't act like he's the best fighter ever. I don't think he's the best fighter alive today, or I think he could be, but he hasn't proven it, and you can't give credit for something that you think he is. So, I think there's a lot more that he could show us. We just have to wait for it to happen, and if it doesn't happen, well, then it's, sorry to say, I hate to say it, but he's just a wasted talent if that happens. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, I mean, it's naive to think that there's absolutely no Floyd fans who attack fans of other fighters. I mean, I'm a Triple G fan, and I would no way say that there's no irrational Triple G fans. But I've seen irrational Floyd fans. I've seen irrational De La Hoya fans. I've seen irrational Canelo fans. I've seen irrational Thurman fans. If it's a fighter with a fan base, they got irrational fans. There's not something about Mayweather that every fan of his is just going to think with their head on their shoulders. So that's all I have to say about that. You just keep in mind, it would be naive to think that somebody with as large as a fan base as Floyd Mayweather, there's not going to be some irrational fans. But I mean, I'm not going to act like there aren't racist people who attack Floyd fans just because they're racist and your favorite fighter is black and you may possibly be black. I know that happens. It also happens the other way. But I really do thank John Boxing for making that 3 Kings video. I think it's a very intriguing topic, something that's really good to debate on, especially when there's really not much happening new in boxing. There's the Hank Lundy Crawford fight. Crawford's gonna smoke him. I see no way that Lundy even has a chance. But anyways, that's my thought on those topics. I gotta get going, so as always, y'all have a good day.
undefeated.